I want you to return that back to the battery. So you can see that the motor's off as it generates. You're only using that motor for a little bitty push. It's the same as an oscillatory action in a Tesla coil. He was very specific when he said, vibrate the thing. Make it oscillate. The faster you make it oscillate, the more energy you will get. Is that clear?
Clear enough as far as you've gone. What I don't understand then is you were saying if you were to use it in a different application, where would the monopole motor fit in?
Craig, I want you to block out everything in your mind that you've ever been taught.
Okay.
All right? I want you to put the books down. I want you to forget about what you've been taught. What I want to do is open your mind up to think about how we can engineer a gravitational system to do the work for us. And we're going to do that with one of the simplest things, and that's a pendulum. Now, it's like a 500-pound weight on a swing, Craig. And behind that's a little child, and he's giving it a little tap. Sooner or later, it's going to go over the top, isn't it?
Perhaps.
Perhaps? Try it in the park sometime. That's all this motor is used for, is to give it a little tap every once in a while when the pendulum thinks that it's going to run down.
Okay.
Now, figure out in your mind a triggering circuit using a monopole, or one pole of one magnet. Now, how would you do that, Craig?
Why don't you just go on? I'm not sure where you're trying to take it.
Craig, I am trying to get you to put down the book for a moment. I want everybody to put down the book. It's not in the books. I want you to open your mind and really think for a moment. Your wildest imagination. I'm going to take you on a ride right now. I'm going to put you on the swing set, Craig, and I'm going to get a little 3-year-old to give you a tap every once in a while you're swinging away. Sooner or later, that little 3-year-old is going to get you at 90-degree angle, and you're going to fall off the swing, aren't you?
Well, if that's the crux of your argument, I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, Craig, I am trying to...
We're looking at it, Craig. It's just sitting here working.
Craig, I am trying to get you to use the part of your mind that you've never used before.
Well, tell me something. Tell me where I'm going wrong here. Using your analogy of a 3-year-old pushing someone in a swing, as the person goes up, the gravity vector increases, okay, and it's very difficult to get someone up to the 90-degree angle. It becomes increasingly difficult to get someone further up.
Craig, right. If it was at the right time, and the swing was oriented exactly right, the Earth would help you. It would add a little bit of energy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if you could set it up right.
Okay. I am using orthodox laws right now. The pendulum shows us the rotation of the Earth, right? So why not use the rotation of the Earth to aid us in getting energy?
Okay, so how are you setting up the pendulum differently to take advantage of that?
A normal pendulum, Craig. A normal pendulum, except that I have aided that pendulum by what I call a monopole motor, which gives that magnetic pole a little push every time the pendulum passes it. Now I am taking advantage as that monopole crosses the 2 inductance coils on either side as a generator. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
I want you to send that back to the battery in a pulse.
Right. That's where you're pulling the energy out, sure.
That's right. So for 1.4 watts input, I could wind any coil I wanted for the output, never losing any energy, Craig. You see, I'm going to take advantage of what this big planet that we sit on does for us. And it spins. So why not use it?
It's a big dynamo, isn't it?
That's right. It's just waiting, and what really gets me hot under the collar, Bill, is what our science has taught us. They haven't shown us anything in 100 years. They have absolutely suppressed everything that could aid the people. Now, we could pump hundreds of gallons of water, Craig, for that little 1.4 watts and take advantage of the earth, at the same time recharging the batteries that are running this pendulum. Now, if somebody makes a great big huge one, a typical example of that pendulum is in Joe Newman's motor. Okay, how does it keep the dry cell batteries charged? Very simply, Craig, a spike. You know what a spike is?
Sure.
The spike is very important in gravitational engineering. And it only finds itself releasing its energy if the item that it's going back to is nonlinear. Do you follow that? What happens, Craig, what happens in a computer if I take an electrostatic gun and walk up to the computer? Doesn't it blow out?
Okay.
Fine.
Yes.
But that tells you something. That tells you, if you really observe that little spike is very potent in a non-linear arrangement.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And to take advantage of that spike, you have to have a non-linear arrangement. That is why I want you to get your paper and pencil out. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. And I want you to use your imagination for it. Never mind what you've been taught. That may not be correct someday. I want you to use your mind in engineering gravitational equipment that we can use.
And with that, Craig, we're going to have to go to some of the other callers. Unless you have one last question, do you want to pop the gun?
I want to ask Tom Bearden something. He had mentioned that there are people who are doing experiments with scalar energy. He named one. That was one point where I couldn't hear clearly. I don't know if there's any others he could name. I wonder if he would be kind enough to name them and say where they're working and if they've had any papers that have actually been published.
I just named some of the people, Craig, that I've worked with myself personally. I didn't, intend to say that I was naming everybody by any means. I named, of course, John Bedini, and everybody has a pretty good idea of the various devices and free energy devices he's built. He's built also a pretty doggone good scalar detector. And by the way, scalar electromagnetics is electrogravitation. I named Frank Golden. I worked with him for quite a few years. Frank has done some rather fundamental things. Only recently